Okay, so for this practice, we'll be more focused on standing. So if balance is a challenge, maybe have a wall close by or even a chair, something to hold on to. And just know that if we do any balancing, you can always touch down at any point that you need to as well. Okay, so I'm going to actually stay in the middle of my mat for now. But I just want to be connecting to the soles of my feet, my sort of philosophical roots, if you will. And if you do feel steady within your balance, maybe bringing a hand to your belly and your chest. And just giving yourself some breaths. Maybe your breath deepens. Maybe you're just observing whatever rhythm that you have right now. And as you breathe, just let your attention drop a little deeper into your body. So if your mind has been busy, just let your attention land, especially where you feel that connection with your hands on your physical body. And then continue to breathe, but feel like you could drop your attention deeper just beneath the soles of your feet. So feel maybe where your feet connect to the mat. You can wiggle your toes a little bit. And then even keep your attention dropping down, even a foot or so beneath the soles of your feet. So you're really getting anchored into the ground. And then if you can, feel like you could take a breath in and even lift up a little bit more from the earth, from the ground. And if you can, keep your attention on your feet and how they're connected to the floor. And also keep your attention on your breath. So that dual point of focus. And just breathe. Even feel like you could ever so slightly bend your knees and feel like you're pressing your feet into the floor. And just notice how that feels. You might notice that your legs engage slightly. And so just keeping your breath moving, but just dropping your arms. You can loop your shoulders, not leap your shoulders, loop your shoulders a few times. Good, and just let them drop down the back of your body, giving some weight to your shoulders, to your fingertips. Then coming back to the connection of your feet, and see if you can take a little bit of weight forward towards your toes. And then taking your time, just drawing a little bit of weight back into your heels. Your toes might get light when you do this. And then just rocking a little bit of weight forward and back. And forward and back. So nothing really challenging if you can close your eyes and do this. So you're focused more on the sensation than what it looks like. And maybe even you let your movement become a little bit more expansive. Maybe a little bit more, not a lot more. And just start to make some circles. So you're shifting then the weight from your heels to the outer edge of your right foot, forward to the ball joint of both feet, and then around to the outer edge of the left foot and back to your heel. And try and make that circle fairly slow. Just getting connected. And then opposite way, see if you can shift that direction. It's not very often we're really paying attention to the soles of our feet, how they feel, how we're connecting and putting weight into them. Good, and just come back to center. So I'm staying standing with my feet just about hip width, but see if you can take weight into your left foot and just come up onto your right toes. Maybe your hands come onto your hips. And I'm pressing the front of my ankle forward. So it's like I'm wearing a very high heel. So I'm just giving a little bit of stretch to my toes. And then see if you can rock your foot side to side a little bit. So I'm putting more weight towards my pinky toe side and then towards my big toe side. So again, moving slowly. Good. Come back to center and then flip your toes over like they're curling under your foot. And again, I'm using that same action, if this feels okay, pressing the front of your ankle forward, and you can do the same thing and rock your foot a little bit from side to side. So this might be quite painful. If it's too much, you can come out, but this might also feel really good. And I know these are very small movements, but the idea is not to be moving really quickly and avoiding sensation. We actually want to bring ourselves deeper into our bodies and observe the sensation. So to do that, sometimes we need to move a little slower. All right. So just once more, come onto your toes and then flip them under. And then standing on your right foot again, maybe wiggling your toes a couple of times. And then opposite side, so lifting your left heel and pressing the front of my ankle forward. Just notice how that feels. And then moving that little bit from side to side. So you might notice that there's actually more sensation through one foot and not so much the other. But just being in that place of presence and breath and just observing what you're feeling. And then flipping your toes under. So pressing your ankle forwards and then moving side to side again. So weight from your big toe to your pinky toe. And just moving slowly back and forth. Good, and then coming back to center. And then once more toes, you're coming onto your toes. And then flipping them under. And then standing on both feet. So just notice how your feet are feeling in this moment. Good, wiggling both sets of toes. Good. And then just dropping your hands down to your knees and just making some circles with your knees around your ankles. So again, you'll notice that your feet will shift from side to side, almost like you're skiing. But we're just trying to create a little bit more resiliency through our feet, especially if we're walking on flat surfaces, we're wearing supportive shoes all the time. We're not actually using the full capacity of our feet. Our feet are meant to be adaptive and be able to walk over roots and rocks and things like that. We're not barefoot hardly at all these days. And that actually connects or disconnects us from the energetic pull, the energetic field of the earth. So just notice how this feels in your knees and ankles. Good, and then come back to center. Come slowly back to standing. Loop your shoulders, and then see if you can lift up onto the ball joints of your feet, squeezing your ankles, your inner thighs a little bit together, and then sink down to your heels and lift your toes. And then come forwards, maybe reaching up into your arms, finding length. And then as you come down to your heels, release your arms. So continue, reach up, and slowly release. Arms can swing back. So inhale, come forwards and lift. Exhale, heels connect, arms sweep back. Once more. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, heels connect, arms sweep back. This time, see if you can bend your knees and reach forwards. Good. And then sweep your arms back, lift your heels. Good. Let your heels come down, reach your arms forwards. And then sweep your arms back, lift your heels. Once more. Heels connect, arms reach up. And then reach back, lift your heels. Good, let your heels come down. Now, you can draw your hands onto your thighs for a moment if you need to, but just feel like you could press your feet into the floor and come up the tiniest bit. So can you feel a little bit more engagement of your legs as you actually press your feet into the floor? Feel like you're just about to lift up. So you might feel your glutes, your hamstrings engage. And then just reach your arms forwards and really slowly take your time, come up to standing. But you're really pressing your feet into the mat. You're lifting up really slowly, but you're using the strength of your legs. Good. Keep pressing down, reaching up. Take a deep breath and feel like your fingertips and your feet could actually separate, reach away from each other. Good. And then just let your arms come down, loop your shoulders. So I'm going to straighten out my mat and then come to the top edge of my mat. So you have a little bit of space to step back. So as you inhale, reach up and then lift your heels. Exhale, reconnect your heels, soften your knees, fold forwards, release the back of your neck. Press into your legs, so it feels like you're pressing your feet into the floor, lift up part way. So a lot of this is not so much core, but the strength of my legs to help me lift halfway. Exhale, bend your knees. Just connect your fingertips. If you have blocks or even books close by, you can bring those in underneath as well. And step your right toes back. So in this position, just shift a little bit of weight into your left foot and then back into your right. You can really press back into your heel. Just shifting forwards and back. Good. And then come back into center and just let your right knee tap down. So it's barely touching, and then press back into your right heel. So just let your right knee tap and then press back. Good. So just a couple more times. So you're just feeling the strength of your legs, the strength of your foundation here. Good. And then just letting your knee come back down. Stay on your fingertips or your blocks and let your hips shift forwards. You can untuck your toes as well if you like. So just letting your hips drop forwards. Feel like your belly could soften as well. And then shifting back, lifting your toes, and really try and press your heel into the floor and feel like you could pull it back so your thigh or leg bone is actually anchoring deeper into your pelvis. And then take your time, shift forwards once more. And shift back. So pressing into your heel, don't worry if your knee is a little bit bent. And even try and sink your belly towards your thigh so your spine can stay long. And coming back forwards, curling your toes under, let your back knee lift, and either a few little steps or one big step all the way forward. Once more, pressing into your legs, lift up halfway, Exhale, you can soften your knees and fold. And then as you come up to standing, feel like you could first drop your tailbone or start to drop your tailbone towards the floor. And then start to roll your spine the rest of the way up, but you're really pressing into your feet, letting your head, your shoulders, your arms be heavy until the last moment. Good. Just loop your shoulders. Good. So we'll move to the other side. Take a deep breath in. Reach up, maybe lifting your heels. Exhale, let your heels come down, soften your knees, and fold. Press through your feet, come up part way, really using that press to lift. Connect your fingertips or hands to your blocks. And then this time, left toes step back. So same sequence. We're going to shift a little bit forwards and back. So just notice how it feels to shift the weight from your front foot and then press into your back heel. And you can even, as you come forwards, press into your toes as you come forwards. Give them a little bit of work. And then as you come back, just drop your knee, barely touching it to the floor, and then press into your back heel. So barely let it touch, and then press back. It's harder than it looks. Good, and then letting your knee come all the way down. So give yourself a moment. You can untuck your toes. Just let your hips shift forwards and down. So it really feels like your left hip especially is dropping towards the floor. And then shift back. So lifting your toes, anchoring into your heel, pulling your thigh, your hip back. Don't worry if your leg is completely straight. Take your time, come back forwards. Sink. And once more, shift back. Flexing your foot, lifting your toes. Good, coming back forwards. Curling your toes under, lift your back knee, and take a few little steps all the way forward. Soften your knees and fold. And then see if you can sink your tailbone down towards the floor and just gradually roll your spine all the way up. Loop your shoulders. Good. So we're going to do a little bit of balancing. So again, this is where you might want the wall for support or a chair, the back of a chair. So I'm going to take a little bit of weight into my left foot. Maybe my hands will come to my hips for now. And then lift your right knee. So my hand can clasp around the front of my shin. But then I'm taking both shoulders back and I'm really pressing my left foot into the floor. And there's not a lot of effort in lifting my knee. It's all in my shoulders. So really try and press down, standing tall. So the more you press down into the floor, the more length and growth you can get away from the mat. And then just gradually, without moving your hips too much, see if you can take your knee a little bit wide. And then gradually moving it back into center without changing too much. And then let your knee open a little bit wide. So even if your knee gets wider, feel like you could pull your knee even into the side of your waist. And then let your knee come back to center. Releasing your right leg down. Shifting weight into your right foot, lifting your left knee. So I'm going to take the front of my knee and then both shoulders, I'll loop them up and back. So as my left shoulder anchors, that's what's actually holding my knee up in space. Really press down through your right foot and then lengthen up and away. Inhale. And then as you exhale, really slowly let your knee open. And then gradually draw your knee into center. And then slowly opening, try and keep your hips facing forward. And slowly draw your knee back to center. Let your left hand come back to your hip, and you can release your foot back to the floor. Good. From here, take your arms forwards. Good. And just press your palms down so it feels like you had a surface underneath your arms. Let your shoulders sink, let your chest lift a little bit, and then sink your hips down. So even as you press down with your arms, can you lift your chest a little bit more? Can you press your feet into the floor so it feels like there's that little bit of engagement? It's like you wanted to really anchor your feet into your mat. Take another breath. And then press down, lift all the way back up, pressing into your left foot. Lift your right knee and see if you can take a step back. You might need to do a few little steps. Good. So your arms can stay reached all the way up. And then just straighten your left leg. As you exhale, bend back into your knee, but let your arms go wide as well into a goalpost-like position. And then press off of the floor with your left foot, reach up. So it's like you're taking energy in from the floor, in from the earth, and bringing it up into your chest, and then bending back in. So it's like you're anchoring and sinking and pressing into the floor, and then pulling everything up, and then sinking back into it. Good. So once more, straighten. And once again, bend. If you can, stay here for another breath. Let your arms go wide, maybe tilt your gaze up. And just feel like as your feet press into the mat, you can take that energy up from the earth, up from the floor, and bring it into your chest. Good. And exhale. Take your palm to the floor. We'll step back this time. And just take a moment here in plank, pressing the floor away from you. And then come onto your knees. So as we press into the mat, round your spine, but feel like you could really press into the floor. Let go of the back of your neck. Give yourself a few breaths. And then slowly transition, let your belly sink, let your shoulders reach back, but pull your hands towards your knees. Deep breaths into your collarbones, the space across the top of your chest. Palms are still pressing into the floor. Once more, press down. Feel like you're anchoring your hands into the earth. And anchoring and pulling your hands towards your knees as your belly sinks and your chest opens. Okay, come back to center, maybe stepping your hands a little bit forwards. If your knees, curl your toes under and lift your hips, coming into downward dog. So give yourself a moment, pedal through your heels. Just opening up that line of your legs. Shoulders wide, back of your neck is nice and long. Even just shifting your hips from side to side with both legs straight. And come back to center. Walk your feet forward towards your hands. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. So soften your knees. Maybe interlace your hands into your elbow creases. Let your shoulders even hang heavy towards your ears. And pressing down, roll your spine, coming all the way back up through to standing. Loop your shoulders. take your arms so they're parallel with the floor, and then press down. See if you can lift your chest a little bit and sink into your hips. Good. So tailbone reaches back. There's a little bit more weight into your heels, and press your feet into the floor until you feel that engagement of your legs. And then slowly press down. Come all the way up to standing, reaching into your arms. This time weight stays in your right foot. Lift your left knee. And again, you can take a few little steps back, or if you can, one big step back. So you're lifting your back heel, your front knee stays bent. And then drawing your right leg towards straight. And then as you exhale, bending your knees, opening your chest a little bit. Straightening your legs, feel like you're drawing that energy up away from the floor. And then as you exhale, sink back in, let your elbows widen. Right leg comes towards straight and reach. And then as you exhale, bend back into your knee and sink. Once more, lengthen, and then bend. And maybe give yourself a few breaths, really pressing your feet into the floor, feeling like you could lift into your rib cage. Good. And then as you exhale, bringing your palms to the floor, stepping back, plank, pressing through your heels, pressing the floor away from you, and then come down onto your knees. And this time, just extending your left leg back, crossing your toes behind you, and just see if you can gaze towards your left heel. Lengthening through the left side of your body. Come back to center, reaching back into your right, crossing your toes behind, lengthening the right side of your body. Good. Come back to center. So your palms really press down into the floor, and even take a moment. See if you can press more so into your thumbs, the pad of your first finger, middle finger, fourth, and pinky. So they're really pressing down, and then curl your toes under. Lift your hips, downward dog, and just let your knees bend, both knees bend quite deeply. And then let your legs come towards straight. And bend both knees, keep pressing into your palms. And then let your legs come towards straight. And bend both knees. And straighten. Once more, bend. And straighten. Give yourself another breath or two. See if you can release the back of your neck. And then taking your time, making your way towards the front edge of the mat. Inhale, come up part way. Exhale, fold. Now see if you can connect your fingertips to the floor, or maybe your hands come to your shins. Again, if you have blocks, maybe your hands come onto the blocks. But just see if you can bend, alternate knees, both of your feet stay flat, but your knees are bending almost like you wanted to go for a walk. Just notice what happens into the back of your pelvis and your sacrum. Nice little stretch, a little bit of movement here. And this is our base, our root chakra, and it is our safety, our foundation, our connection to the earth as well. So come back, knees slightly soft, fold. Just surrendering, even let your knees bend deeper. Feel like everything could surrender into the floor. And then letting your tailbone start to tuck, roll your spine, keep pressing your feet down as you come up towards standing. Just looping your shoulders. Good. So planting into your left foot this time. Come onto the ball joint of your right foot, let your toes or your knee turn open. And maybe your foot just comes to your calf. Maybe it comes a little bit higher to your thigh, maybe above your knee. But feel like you could press your foot into your knee, but then your thigh really presses back into your foot. And then press down into the floor. So even though we're lifting, so either hands come to your heart, maybe you reach your arms up, but really focus on that press down. And focus on the strength of your leg. So even see if you can micro bend your left knee and really press down. Feel that strength. See if you can anchor your big toe base, that little mound right behind your big toe. That's usually the first part that wants to lift away from the floor. Deep breath. So if you need to drop your toes down for balance, you can. And then just take your hands through heart center and release your foot down. So give your legs maybe a little shake. Shifting to the opposite side. So right foot ground, coming onto your left toes. So your foot can stay really low, maybe right at your ankle. It can be just below your knee, maybe coming up towards your inner thigh. So you're pressing your foot into your thigh, but also your thigh is pressing back into your lifted foot. And then everything is pressing down, so you're lifting up. So again, hands to heart or reach up. But really, really focus on that downward press. Press your foot into the mat. See if you can micro bend your knee and just really press. So you want to feel the gathering of the muscles around your thigh bone, really squeezing in. Press down through your big toe base. Feeling the strength of your own foundation. And then let your hands come back through heart center, releasing your left foot down. Just maybe lifting your heels, shaking out your legs. And then heel toe your feet a little bit wider. Let your toes turn open about 45 degrees. And then letting your knees come onto the tops of your thighs, maybe your elbows to the inside of your knees. Let your tailbone drop. So if this isn't quite accessible, forearms to your thighs. If you have blocks, you can also sit those underneath, so you can actually sit down onto the blocks. So try and press your elbows wide into your knees. Wade into the outer edges of your feet. And even feel like you could just a little bit lift away from the floor. Your tailbone is dropping, but your chest is lifting. Trying to keep your shoulders a little bit wide. A few more breaths. And let your fingertips come down, lift your hips and heel toe your feet back together. Just cross one ankle behind the other. See if you can come to seated. So seated position. And just hold on to the fronts of your knees. Hands can rest on your thighs. See if you can drop your shoulders. And just really feel like your pelvis could press down into the floor, and then see if you can lift up. Take some deep breaths. Just close your eyes. So feel like your roots could move down into the floor, sending them down into the earth. So anywhere your thighs, your sit bones, your glutes connect to the mat, feel like roots could grow from those areas and into the floor. Sending them down with each exhale. And then from that connection, feel like you could maybe pull energy in and up with each inhale and bringing that energy into your chest. So with each breath, feel like that energy could drop and you could ground, you can root in. And then as you inhale, feel like you're drawing energy in from the earth. So just breathing your own pace. but just connecting to the energy, letting it drop and rise, and drop and rise. Sometimes we think of energy moving downwards as a bad thing, but it's just about connecting, it's grounding, it's containing. It isn't necessarily bad, it's just a different direction. But from that connection and that rooting, we could lift up, we can grow, we can move towards lighter feeling. So truthfully, we need both. And just letting your body, your energy, your mind connect to that flow. And just bring your hands to the heart. So I'm going to close this practice by saying thank you, namaste. If you choose to stay in this breath or meditation, you can stay here for as long as you like, or bring yourself into Shavasana, just laying down on the mat, palms turned up, toes rolled open, and you can stay there 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or as long as you like. So you're just coming into a restful state if that's what you need. So thank you.